Hey, welcome back, everybody.
We're back.
Had to do a quick little adjustment there on
You gotta like when
behind
they
the scenes.
update for your benefit.
Yeah, and they don't tell you that they've updated
Well,
something.
of course not until you hit the try to go live key and
Yeah, and all of a sudden it doesn't work.
it
So,
says it doesn't work. Then you gotta sit there and
but we are here and we're ready to rock tonight. So, Danny, you got a couple little things you got to do.
yes, I do. Got to share here real quick.
Oh man, the Hunter's Blend coffee is hot tonight. It's a little hot back here in the room too, in the cabin tonight. Have a good weekend, Dan.
I did.
Did you get out and do anything? You know, it was National Conservation Week day yesterday. Yeah, I was on the river. Spent a little time on the river yesterday.
Yes, you were on the river. You did a nice little live chat from the river.
Yeah, wasn't bad. The colors are not popping yet on the Asable. Not where I was at anyway. So we're waiting for those colors to start changing. Hopefully they will here soon. Mark Coleman and Todd DeVogue is watching.
Todd is back from his little biking adventure down to the Virginias.
Oh yeah? All right.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Remember he was gonna...
Oh yeah, that's right. He was going to Tail of the Dragon.
Yes, he was gonna go down to Tail of the Dragon and...
So he must have survived.
It sounds like he did, right?
Well, that's good.
Right?
That'd been a cool bike ride to be on. Or motorcycle ride. All right, I got mine out of the way. If you're ready, we'll kick this off. Kip Howell, hey, what's up? Daniel Burns, what's going on, Daniel? Brent Jackson from over in the Thumb area. What is going on? Port Huron, if I'm not mistaken.
Come on.
People are piling in as we talk. Heather Reimer, hey, how's it going? From over at Michigan Deer Hunters, let them go, let them grow. God, it is hot in here tonight. I'm taking this other shirt off. I was wearing it in honor of National Conservation Day yesterday, my Mossy Oak Gamekeepers shirt.
Right?
But it's just too doggone hot. So, you let me know when you're ready here, and
I will let you know.
we will get going.
I'm waiting for the feed to come to me.
You're waiting for the feed to come. Well,
Yeah, for the video.
refresh again.
I'm trying.
Poor Danny.
I know, right? You know, it's like one of those things.
Scroll down there.
Come on.
Just go right down to our you're not on, you just got all the videos there.
Well, usually it tells me that we have a new video.
Just pop to the page.
I'm going there.
Bow season starts Thursday in Indiana, Mark says. That's right. You know what? And I am jonesing to get down there. I'd love to get down to Indiana to my lease down there, but it probably won't be until November. We got too much stuff going on right now.
All right. Let's go.
All right, here we go.
We're going to do it anyways.
Stand by in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. Host Mike Adams sitting in the cabin tonight. It's a little warm here. It's going to be the last warm day here in Michigan, I do believe. The front is coming through, and it's going to get nasty. So,
You're right, it is.
what's going on, Dan?
You know what? Just like you said, the cold front, we're going to have a change in weather. It's October 1st this week. You know what that means.
That means cold weather. It's time to get some Hunter's Blend, right?
Well, it's that, and it's time to get out and get ready for bow season.
Absolutely.
Even though some of it started already, but you know, you got to do what you got to do.
Well, you want to tell everybody how they can save some money?
Absolutely, there is nothing better than getting out and helping our supporters as we speak. And I tell you what, if you want to start over what you see we're drinking right here, Hunter's Blend Coffee, if you want to start there, go over to huntersblendcoffee.com. You get 10% off your order when you check out, when you use the promo code, as Mike points to it, capital UNJ.
There you go.
And then Buck Baits.
Absolutely.
It's about that time to get your sense together.
You need some sense.
And if you get over to buckbaits.com, you can get 20% off your order when you check out using the promotional code Up North Journal. But after the harvest, after the killing, there's nothing better than grilling. And with Rebel 6 Rubs, at rebel6rubs.com, you can get 20% off your order by using the code North Journal.
There you go. And speaking of killing, that's kind of what we're going to be talking about tonight, right?
We are talking about what you use to kill.
Absolutely.
They're sharp, they're pointy,
Yeah.
and they fly well.
Yes, they do. We got Brian Anderson from G5 on. Hey, Brian, how's it going tonight, man?
Hey guys, good. How are you guys?
Dave's got the heat turned on over here, way too hot.
Dude,
and I'm waiting for that cold front to hit.
Yeah, it was nice. It started to warm up, so hopefully end of the week will be good for the starter.
Yeah, I can't wait to get out. But actually, you just got back from a little jaunt, didn't you?
Yeah, I've been trying to get as much in. We've been jamming at work, but we were able to sneak out. We went to southeast corner of Idaho, just kind of a couple hundred miles north of Salt Lake, and was able to chase some elk for a little bit. Helped a buddy killed one. He killed a gray bull. We're getting that off, and a couple opportunities, but no arrow shot by me. But it was a good week. They were bugling. They were a couple more days. Seemed like we'd probably be able to get a little bit, put a couple more on the ground. So.
Right on. Well, if you're out there chasing elk and you got your quiver with you, what broadhead are you using?
So this year, I was using the new Striker 4-blade.
Okay.
Normally, I'm a big Montec guy. That one's usually the one in the quiver, one of the Montecs. But this year, I was going to try the Striker 4-blade, just kind of put a little bit bigger hole in. You got a big body. You want to be able to get them to bleed. So, a nice 4-blade will do that. So
the Striker 4-blade that you have, so you'll have these diehards that say you need a 3-blade. You have these diehards that say 4-blade. Is there a monumental difference? Personal preference?
I think it's more of a personal preference thing. We've always kind of been the 3-blade broadhead to go to. But there is there's kind of a cult out there that just loves the 4-blade. There's a lot of good 4-blades out there. I used them a long time ago before I worked at G5. But yeah, the 4-blades I think are just, it produces a little bit more of a hole, but same time you still have vertical lines which can fold up possibly, but it's hard to say, do I think one's better than the other? Absolutely not. I would say, try what your heart wants, and then kind of make sure it just tunes with your setup. I'm a big 4-fletch guy anyway, so I was like, let's try it this year. There really hasn't been much more than a Montec in the quiver for the last 5, 6, 7 years, but I always want to try new things, and we're constantly coming out with new broadheads, so.
And you've already got a compliment on the beard. You're rocking the beard. So you already got that Mark Coleman out there rocking the beard. You're also rocking the 4-blade out there. But you've come up with, going back, starting at the top of the lineup with the 3-blade, you've kind of gone and you've messed with the Montec a little bit.
Yeah, it was a broadhead I used before I even came to G5. That's kind of the reason when they came to talk to me, it was like, absolutely, I want to work with a company that I've already been using and proud of. So the Montec is kind of the tried and true, the go-to head that we've always been G5 Montec. A lot of people don't even know the company's G5; they think it's Montec. It's the #1 selling fixed blade out there, and the cool part about it is it's one solid piece of steel. There's a lot of systems out there that are welded. There's a lot of pieces that, you take them apart, like the Striker, you can replace blades. And those are all great. They all work for their own purpose. But the Montec is one piece when it starts, it's one piece when it's finished. And nice thing about that is on bigger game like elk and things like that, if you do stick the offside shoulder or, bust through a rib, it's a very robust, it's a very hardy system. And you're talking 80, 90,006 blades compared to 20 or 30 on some of the other stuff. Stronger. And we've been able to build on that the last couple of years with the Montec. People wanted one that was sharper because it is a 60-degree blade angle, where most blades are about 20. So, if you put your thumb on it, it may not necessarily cut you. Don't do it. We got more stories about stuff like that later. But we've been able to kind of improve on it. 1 second.
Yep.
Hey, dude, I'm on the phone. Can you go inside for a little bit? Come here real quick.
Bring them on. We love seeing kids.
Here's the future bow hunter of the family.
Oh man, I see deer hanging on your wall here from this little guy.
You have deer on your wall already in your bedroom? Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome.
say hi to everybody.
Is he shooting a bow already?
He's just starting to play a little bit.
There you go.
15 birds.
15 birds, yeah.
All right.
I love birds. All right, go back inside, buddy.
Hey, that's our future, man. We've got to get them involved too.
Exactly. So it's been fun, and my dad's been kind of wanting to spoil him too. He's been waiting a while. Me and my brother both older. We had kids, so and it's kind of my dad's kind of one of those I don't say hard ass cops my whole life.
Right.
Grandkids softened him up. So
it has a tendency to do that. Grandkids, mine has done the same thing to me.
But yeah, so talking back at the Montec has been the tried and true. It's been the one that's been in my quiver forever. But the last couple of years, we've been able to try to improve on it without trying to take the internal structure away to it. Because I mean, yeah, it is. I would say the blade angle is a little more choppy than it is a slice, kind of like some of the broadheads. So people have complained about that. So what we've done is we can't change that blade angle, but we can change how we're doing it. So we went to a carbon steel that made it about 10 points of Rockwell hardness. Worked great, but then you had to maintain it. And then this past year, we came out with a brand new one called the Montec M3. So we're ones to listen to our customers. We want to know what they have to say and they have to feel about it. They wanted a sharper one, so we went with a 420 stainless. It's the same thing you see in a lot of broadheads that are way, way expensive the last couple of years. I think there's kind of a boutique brands that kind of go at that $100 for 3 broadheads.
Right.
We're producing the new M3 at the same steel, same quality, everything like that. Right around that $40 price point.
Nice.
But then what we've also been able to do, so that one even went up 10 points more hard on the Rockwell scale than the carbon steel. So now we're at close to 60 points of Rockwell. And then we also got rid of the vents in the blade. So you want a vented blade if it's got a thin blade. If you go super thick on the blade, it can push some air and cause some noise. So we went to a non-vented system. I actually have it right here. If I can kind of show it to you. So we went from where there would be a vent in the side of the blade to actually kind of like an airfoil. So we've been able to, and that made it a little stronger too. So we've had the strongest, the sharpest, and by far the most wicked and quietest Montec we've ever had. So.
Well, okay, you mentioned something there that we've kind of talked about, and I want to go ahead and bring it up about the Montec, because I've shot the Montec for years. I mean, I've shot them for quite a while. Last year, I took a poke 44 yards on a buck, and it was a dead shot, and I'm like dead deer walking as I'm watching the arrow come into him, and at the very last second, that buck actually pushed off the ground and launched upwards, like I call him matrix buck for what he did, but it went underneath his brisket. And actually, a buddy of ours in Iowa asked what broadhead we were shooting, and he said that the vented blade might have caused a whistle. Is that?
It's definitely a possibility. I mean,
Okay.
You don't see it as much, like I said, on a stamp blade or a replaceable blade system. But you're at 20 thousandths thickness, so when the air kind of just rolls right over it. Well, I mean, we were 85 thousandths, 90 thousandths thick on the blade. I mean, it definitely can cause. We've heard guys say, I've heard it whistle the whole way, and then we've heard guys that say, oh, no, it's the quietest broadhead ever. So I don't know if it's aerodynamics or combinations, but I definitely think there's a possibility there was a little noise, and that's one thing we listen to, and we still love the Montec. We're still going to make the Montec, and it's still going to be that bread and butter of the company. But if a guy wanted an option at I would say a better mousetrap, the M3 is going to be the way to go. But it's going to take care of those little things like possibly a longer distance shot, with noise. And that's one thing too. I mean, with the bows nowadays, the arrow setups, 45 yards, 50 yards isn't out of the question anymore. I mean,
Right.
I don't recommend it, but, if you're shooting 80, 90 yards in your backyard, if you feel comfortable at 40, 50 and you think you have an opportunity, and you're confident, I would say go for it, and that's, some of these broadheads are going to be able to give you those options a little better at those distances.
I'm glad you said that. Danny and I, we cover this question so much on the show, talking about, what your effective range is. And there's a lot of people that tend to give people like us a little bit of grief for taking a longer 40, 50-yard shot. But like you said, when you're practicing, 80, 90, 100 yards in your backyard, your effective range just gets out there a little bit further. It gives you that extra opportunity to take a shot.
Absolutely. Like I said, I'm not telling you to go out there and take that shot, but if you are having the opportunity, I mean, like every summer, see you guys up at TAC, and when you get on a course and you shoot one at 127 yards and it actually felt good, it was where you aimed and it went. I'm not saying that's ever going to happen in the mountains or while we're hunting, but I mean, to be able to take that confidence that you did at that kind of distance and doing it at 40, 50, I mean, at a deer that's a little bit out of the wind zone,
Right.
Elk, things that, antelope, things that you may not be able to get into that 15, 20 yards where we've always been comfortable at. And,
Right.
I mean, the opportunity's there,
You just said it in a nutshell. what you feel comfortable with.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's you feeling comfortable at whatever distance, me, Mike, anybody, what you feel comfortable. Don't press it. Don't you feel comfortable?
No.
Shoot it.
Well, everybody's ethical shot is a different distance.
Exactly. It's not.
Yeah.
You know, you see these guys pull off these amazing shots. Yep, but they've practiced it and they've taken grief for it. But like you said, Brian, it's what you comfortable, what you practice, and what's ethical.
Absolutely.
Exactly. I think ethical is probably the biggest word there. I mean, if you have confidence and you have, you have the ability to shoot that, then that's going to give you more opportunities to be able to put yourself in more hunting situations, So, but I don't recommend it for a guy that's just getting out there and starting to shoot, 20 yards is your effective zone. Stay at 20 yards, That buck may walk past that, but hey, now you need to figure out how to get closer to it in your hunting. Or, hopefully the next time he comes cruising through, he's just a little bit closer.
Absolutely. And your guys are making the tools to go on the end of our arrows to be able to take that little bit longer shot, too.
Exactly.
That's what I like about you guys. You listen to people and you make little tweaks here and there and make it better.
We're the family, the Grace. G5 stands for Grace, and also 5 biblically, and then also there's 5 Grace kids. So that's what G5 stands for. But they've always been in precision grinding. You wouldn't believe the companies we've worked with. If there's a company having a problem making a part, they come to us to figure out how to make it. So we do stuff for the gun industry, the workout equipment, medical industry. Broadheads aren't only part of what we do. It's kind of what we fell into because it was more of the passion of the family.
Sure.
But it's all about making a better mousetrap, a better precision part. So, they weren't going to come out with a broadhead that could have wobbles and things like that. Every single Montec goes through a optical comparator where it fits within 10 thousandths of an inch at the very point of it. We've actually had other broadhead companies buy our Montec to be able to spin theirs, have a comparison of what's straight, what's not. It's always been our passion to make sure what we try to put out there, what we put on the end of an arrow, what's going to be on the end of the arrow for the guy that's chasing does in his backyard, or the guy that's climbing a mountain to kill a mountain goat. We want to make sure he's going to have the best experience possible.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, we're going to come up on our first break, but when we come back, we're going to continue our discussion about broadheads, and we're going to talk about the dead meat and the mega meat.
Okay, absolutely.
All right, we're going to step outside. We'll be right back after this.
Okay. All right.
A lot of comments coming in tonight.
Everybody out there on Facebook, got any questions, throw them at us. We'll get to that question in the next segment. Corey, Mark Coleman killed 2 does at 41 yards with Montec complete pass-through. They both expired in the field at less than 80 yards with a death run. That's awesome. Absolutely.
Love to hear.
Alan Mayer, they are capital B, capital A. I won't say that on here.
Yes, they are.
Mark Coleman does have a... Okay, I'll ask you this question. Okay.
All right. 1 second here. We'll get going. Second segment.
The dude comes on with a beard and everybody's going crazy about it. Rock to the beard.
All right. Here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Second segment. Sitting here doing a little chatting about some broadheads and hunting and killing stuff tonight with Brian Anderson from G5 Outdoors. You got something
I do. We, in the first segment, we talked about the G5 and the M3. Question is, where can they get the new M3?
Okay, so as a lot of people are probably noticing in a lot of different outdoor industries, the parts are starting to be harder and harder to find on the shelves, from golf equipment to hunting. It's the same thing right now. We are producing and making more broadheads than we ever have in our career, and we're shipping them as fast as we make them. That's the nice thing about being a domestic company. I would just say call your local dealers. Most dealers have stuff on order, or we've already shipped. We are a little behind on some of the shipping this year, just for that reason. I think people came out of COVID and they're still staying a little social distancing, so they're doing a little hunting, So I would say just check any stores, Amazon. I hate to people sitting there, but Bass Pro, Cabela's, Sportsman's Warehouse might be online sources, but I would always check your local dealers. One thing you'll know about, or you guys probably don't know about us, we don't put it on our website unless we're fulfilling our dealers first. We like to take care of our customers, but our dealers are the heart of it, and we want to make sure if a guy goes to a shop, he can find them locally, and we'd rather do that than kind of undercut those guys. So if you see it not on our website, just keep looking at other places they are out there.
All right, cool. Good answer. Great answer, actually. But like you said, check with the dealer first and then go from there. Okay, so let's go to the Broadheads. We'll start with the dead meat. It's the one that's out there. It's a 3-blade. We do have a question about the dead meat itself. And the question is, why does Corey's rattle?
Okay, so we got to make sure our Broadheads function the best they can. So the mega meat and the dead meat are a continuation of our Broadhead from the Tekken line, Tekken 2, down to the T3, which always pin the front of the Broadhead to the back. What problem with that is it put a lot of pressure on the front end. It could restrict openings. So what we've done is we've made all the connection points on the very back of the Broadhead. So it just clicks in the back, and now the front free floats. So we try to keep it as precision as we can, but if we took the gap of the blade any tighter, there's a possibility that you might have any kind of gunk and blood can get in there and keep it from opening. So if you are getting a slight rattle, that's just to that blade in the track. Take the blades and deploy them. Take a little bit of string wax and just kind of put a little bit in that groove because that won't freeze. And that'll keep it waterproof and keep anything from going in there, and then just snap it back in place, and that'll take care of that rattle.
Great tip. Wow.
Yeah,
so string wax.
It's something we noticed internally. We were shooting them, and we could actually hear them inside our quiver going a little bit. So when they did tighten up the tolerances a little bit, but we've learned just to put a little wax, white lithium grease. Wax tends to hold a little better than grease, and it doesn't smell. So
Yeah, you don't want any smell on there. So yeah, that man, that's a great tip. I mean, you get that right from the company.
You know, and the best.
They called in, they said it. That's what we tell you to do. Is just put a little smear it right on the track, push the blade in. It does no restrictions. It'll actually lubricate your Broadhead and take care of that all in one.
And the best part is, you can picture this in your mind. These guys out in the field hearing this, and all of a sudden they're back at the camp that night, and they're tearing these things apart.
Beating on the side of their bow. You guys listen to shoot it,
Yeah.
We've been there, we do those things ourselves. So, yeah, nope, I can totally understand if somebody got that, had a little bit of frustration, but it's a really quick, easy fix.
That is awesome. And from there, you went from dead meats, now available with 25% more meat with a huge 2-inch cut is the mega meat.
And it has been epic. It really has been huge. So we were a little late to the launch on that. We just started shipping them in June. We were hoping a little bit for turkey season. It's our first 3-blade 2-inch cut. We tried a 2-blade 2-cut, which, hey, the industry loves them. Rage has been a trooper. They are awesome. We specialize in 3 blades, so we decided, all right, let's look at what we can do. The dead meat was such a hit at 1.5 inches. So the problem is they're so hard to get right now. I couldn't even really find one in a package, so I grabbed one that we smashed in our guillotine at work. But this is one through a 1/4-inch piece of aluminum, and it just looks absolutely brand new. But it is a 2-inch cut. It's producing entrance holes like we've never seen. Search our Facebook page. Look at the bone collectors. I mean, everybody that's using this Broadhead this year has just been having absolutely amazing success with. I mean, I'm giddy here because it's not normally me, and just the amount of blood and the amount of these giant holes, entrance and exits, have been out of this world. I mean, we were even nervous being a 2-inch cut. You go, there's not a lot of guys that are going to go out west with that. Mike and Waddell put a giant bull down last week with one. Just kind of looking at some of the comments on some of the social media pages. And we kind of cruise some of the big box stores like Bass Pro and Cabela's and look at their comments. There's a lot of guys hunting out west with them and doing absolutely great things. So
that is cool, man. Hold that thing back up again. I want to see that.
So
it's 1/4-inch steel. I mean aluminum. 1/4-inch aluminum.
So it's we actually drop them at the force of about 140 pounds. We do it because we want to break stuff. And we continuously have these cool little things on our desk because ours don't break and most others do. So same thing with all the rest of our Broadheads. It's an all steel ferrule. I mean, it's super strong, super tough, all steel blades, no rubber collar. And I mean, basically I could take this Broadhead and really, if I wanted to pop it out of here and hunt with it tomorrow with no problem.
That's wild.
Yeah, it is. It's just one of those things. What that just proved to you is, and I'm going to give credit to all the companies that you get out there and you get out there and you put that thing, like you said, 140 pounds through aluminum, testing it. You want to break it. You want to see what you can do.
We're looking for failure points. I mean, we start with this isn't the first rendition of this broadhead. We start, we break, we fly. I mean, we have a wind tunnel in the office. We try to do aerodynamics. Same thing with our BMP. We match our ballistics of our practice points to our broadheads. We try to go the thing, and we try to get these things so they're as indestructible as you can. I mean, most guys are probably not going to shoot a broadhead twice, but we do hear it all the time. Hey, I had an issue or something like that. Or, we'll help. We'll replace. We try to do everything we can. There is things that happen. And blades do break, bend, things like that. But we do everything on the front side to make sure 99% of that stuff never happens.
And speaking of what you just talked about, the BMP, the ballistics match practice tip, explain that. We got it up on the screen there, and explain what that's all about.
Yeah, so we originally had a broadhead called the Preseason Montec, and it's a Montec that's dull. That's all it is. We actually started with those a long time ago, and people loved them. The problem with the practice broadhead is you can't pull it out of a target. You have to shoot it into a broadhead target. They beat them up, they chop them up, and then you have a target that you're shooting the rest of the year, which is a bag or Excelsior bales or 3D targets. And then what happens is you're shooting those all year, then you get your broadheads on and they're off. All right, now you're moving your sights or trying to tune your bow to your broadheads. And sometimes they match up. A lot of times they do. A lot of times, more than not, they don't. So Nate wanted to come up with a process that was a field point. We didn't want to call it a field point because it's much more than that. But we have one made for every broadhead that we're designing right now. So there's one for the Montec, one for the Striker. The Striker 4-blade hasn't come out yet, but we're working on that one, the Mega Meat, the Dead Meat. And what it is, I'll say it, a field point, but it's a field point that flies exactly like your broadhead. So you can shoot these things in 3D targets, bag targets, whatever kind of targets you want all year long. Screw it off the day before hunting, put your broadheads on, and you have the confidence to go out there and hunt without. And I'm not saying not to shoot a broadhead, people do, but you wouldn't have to. You could put this on and shoot it exactly as your field point or as your broadhead and go hunting the next day.
Okay, so what's the retail on these?
I think they're right around $14-15 for a 3-pack, so they're a little bit more.
Okay.
But it's something, like I said, that you won't have to do any tuning with. And all the mechanicals will come with one in the package. So Mega Meats and Dead Meats are going to have one in the package. So if somebody wanted to try it, they can go that way first, and then, hey, if they fall in love with it, they can get a whole set for their arrows.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool. That's a great idea.
We appreciate it. It's something different, and we wanted people to be confident in their equipment. It's another way to get guys more confident right before season without having to switch and get all frustrated and have to do all that stuff just days before hunting season.
Right. And those are specific to each broadhead.
Yeah.
Okay. Not just the grain weight, but obviously the broadhead style as well.
Yeah, yep. The Montecs will have theirs, M3s will have theirs, Strikers. And you'll notice if you held all of them up, they're a slightly different shape. They don't have fins, but they do have scallops and things like that. They're going to follow the trajectory and basically transfer the wind the same way a broadhead would.
So would you also use those for crossbows?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
You can anything that you shoot a normal field point for, put a BMP on it. If it was me and you're gonna shoot a G5 product, shoot BMPs all year, switch your broadheads out right before season and go hunt.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so we talked about the front with the wax tip. Another question is, talk to the threading. How do you keep them tight in the shaft?
Okay. It's kind of like a field point. I mean, eventually they're going to rattle loose. Wax or bow wax is always a good one. It's something I always put on mine at the beginning of the year. We used to make a product called VibraCheck. Just wasn't very popular, so we didn't want to keep it on the shelf and create a product that wasn't any good. But there is some Loctites that if you want to put on the threads and let it dry, not put it on the threads and thread it in, just put it on. It kind of fills up some space. You can do those things. Cotton, you put cotton on the threads, it'll kind of do it tight. We didn't want to put an O-ring on the back or anything like that because we want to metal to a square finish. I don't know if we've talked about it when we make a tool called the ASD that squares the ends of your arrows. So we want metal to the carbon, the aluminum, the steel, whatever you're using at the end. And if you put a washer and O-ring down in there, it tends to cause a wobble. So that's why you'll see always metal-to-metal connections on ours, and there isn't rubber or anything like that. But I put string wax is my go-to. Put it on there. You might have to do it twice a year. But no, I mean, put it on, strike tight. Oh, and another thing is broadhead wrenches are important. We make one called a Torquey. Damn, I wish I had one. It actually has two little tabs. It's an actual torque wrench, and the human hand does about 3 pounds of pressure to hold on. Our little torquey, basically, it looks just like any other really broadhead wrench, but there's a line in the middle that you can actually twist it. It's made out of rubber. It's not made out of plastic. And there's 2 little points, and once those points touch, it's like 6 to 8 pounds of pressure. So it's twice the amount of pressure that a human can put on there with their hands or just a normal broadhead wrench.
Okay, yeah, we actually got a picture of it up on the line right now. So
yeah, I mean, if somebody wants one and not have to worry about them ever coming loose, put them on there with a torque. You can't break them free with your hands after that.
nice.
So it was something Lou, the owner, the main owner, its owner, father and 2 sons. Kind of one of his kooky ideas that we are. Well, I don't know if that'll ever work. And we basically all lost the bet if we could unscrew a broadhead afterwards. And we're like, we got to bring that one out for the people. So
That's good stuff. All right, so and I think the price there was like $7.95 on the webpage.
yeah,
Yep,
right
so-
around $7-8.
Yeah.
Yep. So
There you
definitely worth the price. And
Yeah, I mean,
not
a normal broadhead wrench is $3 to $5, so it's just a couple dollars more to actually be able to have one that will lock your broadheads in place. I mean, it was, like I said, it was overly impressive when we kind of came down with it. We're like,
Yeah.
all right,
And keeps your fingers off the
yeah,
blades.
you'll work this time.
Don't have to worry about cutting your fingers either.
we'll
Yeah,
talk about
exactly.
safety in the next segment, right?
right.
Yeah, and I'm an accident-prone guy. I mean, we had another story earlier, but I mean, I cut the end of my finger off a couple months ago. I mean, I need anything to keep myself from cutting myself.
Actually-
so, yeah, there's a torque.
Dan Newmer uses plumber's tape.
Yeah, that would work too. So, yeah, just same thing. Just wrap it on there. Do it the opposite thread, just like you do plumbers, and that way when you screw it on, it stays tight. It doesn't back itself off. But yeah, Teflon tape works great.
Alan and Mark both use the Torquey.
Yeah, and it says it's a must-have tool. Nice. Good deal.
See, what's great about that is you're putting products out there that people are using. Like you said, you had the Loctite type that wasn't getting there, and you just didn't want to carry it on the shelf, so you get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool product. It was made for, because we do fletching glue called blue glue, so we brought it out at the same time, which is great. It pretty much dries clear, but it's blue. I had terrible eyes, and you can see it go on the fletching. So same thing there, just making products that are a little bit more easy-friendly for the end user. And it was a product that, it had a shelf life, and we didn't want to just put a product on the shelf to sell it. So we pulled it back off, but it's still a product called ViberCheck out there that's it's made by the same company. And the same thing with the ASD. We focus on broadheads and bows. We talked about that earlier as an internal company, but we also like to make things that help people hunt or do their own arrows, things like that. We have an ASD that helps square the end of both ends of the arrows. We changed it this year, so you can do a lot more types of arrows, inserts, outserts, that kind of stuff with it, to create a better service for your broadheads, better spins. A lot of that stuff just to kind of make it easier for the end user.
Yeah, I didn't know you had blue glue. I've got to get some of that because that's a big problem I've got is making sure you get the right amount of glue on a fletching before
Yeah,
you
you
apply
got
it.
those little pockets, and say you just put a nice blue line down it, and you're good to go. If you have a white wrap with a white vein, you'll see a little bit of blue on the side, but pretty much any other combo, it dries pretty much crystal clear.
I don't think it matters when you turn it red.
Right.
I don't care if it's blue, purple, yellow. When you turn it red, it's all good.
On the other side of enamel than they ever do before they go in.
And Brian, you keep on talking, and we got Dan Newmar on the ropes. He's seriously thinking of switching to G5 after years of shooting slick tricks.
There you go.
He's thinking.
And if he's a slick trick fan, Striker X is the way to go. That 4-blade, like I said earlier, those guys are kind of a cult following, and once they fell in love with it, and it was something that we knew we needed to do, but we also wanted to make sure we redid the Striker first. So, I would say Striker or Striker X would be an awesome combo for somebody that was coming from Slick Trick.
There you go.
All righty, we got another break coming up, but we got more questions going into the next segment.
All right, I tell you what, we're going to step outside, take care of some business, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation here, talking more with Broadheads with Brian Anderson from G5 Outdoors. We'll be right back after this.
Dan Anderson, we got that question coming up in the next segment, even though you're late to the party.
He's late. He must have been watching the Green Bay game over there in Wisconsin. What?
Nothing.
Oh, you give me maybe they're not playing today.
No,
I don't follow them.
I don't follow.
I have no idea what's going on in football this year.
Me either.
Yeah.
I'm thinking too much about killing deer.
Yeah, especially now.
Right? Okay. Here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, and 1. Third segment of the show. Lots of good conversation going on. A lot of interaction back and forth. People are watching and listening to the show right now. You said that you had some more questions?
Yeah, Dan Anderson, all the way on the other side of our Great Lake Pond,
Yeah.
wants to know. Actually, I think I already know the answer, but it's mechanical or solid head. What?
Oh, he asked the dirty
One
question.
of those questions, you know. I mean, I'm gonna call them. We're like the self-declared kings of fixed blades. You know, I mean, the Montec has been our go-to. I mean, it's been our bread and butter. I mean, like you said earlier, a lot of people know the company is Montec.
Mm-hmm.
You're always gonna have minimal failures with a fixed blade broadhead. You have an exposed cutting blade. Your blades are already set. I mean, but there is tuning sides of it. I mean, you have more wings out there. You have more foilers, things like that could possibly, at longer distances, or somebody that has a bow that not necessarily maybe the tune the best. So you kind of got to fight that battle. Mechanicals always tend to have bigger cutting diameters, so bigger holes, more blood, things like that. But they're also take more kinetic energy to open and make sure that they have a good entrance hole and exit hole. We definitely try to do that by having better sweeping blade angles. A lot of them have very, to get 2 and 3 inch cuts on some of these new broadheads, you have very chopping blade angles. Where we wanted to go more sweeping, that 40 degrees, things like that. So it's, half dozen there, but on that same side, it is a smaller, compact broadhead when it's closed. So longer distance shooting, hunting out west, things like that, you may be able to get a mechanical to group a little better, or be able to get tuned out to a little bit better distance. Well-tuned bow, you should be able to shoot both very far. I mean, I was sighted in 80 plus yards for the elk hunt we just got back on, and I'd have been confident at that kind of distance with a fixed blade if it came to it. There's that, so I think it's just kind of personal preference, and figure out which one you like and which one, kind of, satisfies that bloodthirst when you see it on the ground. Do you have good blood? Do you have good entrance and exits holes? Stay with that. Which one makes you happy?
Yeah. So to answer the question, yes.
Yeah. I can babble for an hour on that particular question.
If that's one of the great questions. If you want to just kind of throw like the grenade into a hunting conversation, just throw that on. Just like compound to crossbow.
Yeah.
I had a buddy reach out today saying the same thing. He's like, "Hey, we need to talk about broadheads. I mean, first, get rid of the crossbow and get a real bow, and we can talk, But no, I mean, honestly, people out there hunting, I'm happy with whatever makes them happy to hunt, so.
Okay, well, you brought up crossbow. Let's just throw this out there real quick for the crossbow shooters. They're looking for a broadhead to put on the end of a bolt, and they're going to hunt deer wherever. What are you going to recommend that they put on the end of that?
I'm a big guy on mechanicals for crossbows. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of kinetic energy. They fly very true, very compact. So I would say a mega meat or a dead meat would be an awesome combo on the front. Personally, my dad has been a crossbow guy a long time, and he's a big striker fan. But he also has strikers and dead meats in the quiver. But I would say dead meat or mega meat would be my go-to.
Okay. I agree. That's what I use.
Yeah. Right.
When I use the crossbow, I use dead meats.
And here's something we test all of our broadheads. We actually found kind of a mathematical formula that kind of shows you how much tension you need on a broadhead for speed-wise. And we do all of that testing on it. As long as it says crossbow in their version of broadhead, so mega meat, dead meat, make sure you get the red collars, which is the crossbow version. Speed is not a factor. So the guys that are shooting those 450 plus crossbows that, just lightning fast, they don't have to worry about pre-deployment.
Exactly, and that's a very good point, Brian, because I've had guys, when I've been in the stores, grab a pack and I'm going to use this on the crossbow. I say, hold on, wait, check the collars. They got to be the red collars.
It'll say on all the packaging, like our packaging looks like meat packaging. Just look on the stamp on the bottom. It'll say, but look for the red collars. And here's the deal on that too, is if you're a bow hunter and they don't have the blue collars, grab the crossbow collars. They're never going to have any problem opening up. They just hope it, to hold it in flight. So you can use them both for bow hunting but we recommend just the crossbow collars for crossbows.
Okay, we got that up on there now. Danny, put your cursor right there on the collar. What we're talking about? That's the blue one right
This
there.
is the blue one. And I got a question for you. We're looking at that picture. Are those still metal clips?
No. So the T3 was the last version that we had the metal clip on, and basically what it was is 2 flats on the blades and 2 metal fingers that kind of pressed up.
Yeah.
Now we use a polymeric gland, which is basically a fancy word for plastic, but I mean it's special in how the tensions are made and things like that. And basically there's a detention system that snaps in. So on the Mega Meat, there's a ball on the back of the blade that slips into a collar that clicks in. And then on the Mega Meat, there's actually so basically there's a ball and socket. And then the Mega Meat is the socket is on the blade and the ball is on the broadhead. So basically it's just opposite, but they hold the same way. Difference on, because the Mega Meat has a stamp blade like the Striker or any kind of mostly replaceables. And the Mega Meat is a molded blade like our Montec and things like that. So we're able to do a little bit more design on the blade than a flat stamp. But if people wanted a big, giant cut, that's what you're going to get with the sharpness on the Mega Meat. So
A 2-inch cut. That's a big cut.
That's
it's
huge.
a giant cut. I mean, so we're pretty excited to see what we killed a lot of animals and did a lot of testing early on, and we just had great luck. And so we were a little just nervous to kind of see what it was in the real life, and it's been amazing to see entrance holes on a 2-inch cut broadhead. I mean, it's always great to have that big exit hole, but man, these entrance and exit holes have just been. I tell everybody, go look at T-Bone's video of that 182 he just shot. He'll show you everything you need to see on that broadhead.
Let the air out of them quick.
Oh God, did it ever!
Oh man.
All right, we got a question for you. If you shoot a mechanical or a fixed at 30 yards, will they hit the same spot?
So more than likely, yes. But we talked about it earlier with the BMP. So the reason we make them different is because they fly the characteristics of that particular broadhead. A well-tuned bow, 30 yards, more than likely you're going to be pretty close to the same hole. I mean, but you could be off an inch here and there. And more than likely, what a lot of people don't realize is it's not necessarily the blades that are out there that make that much difference, which they do. It's the distance from the broadhead to the point of the broadhead to your arrow. So front of center is a big talk. Everybody's talking about heavy front of centers and things like that. Our broadheads are all steel, Montec, Striker, all that. So they're very short when it comes to weight. So we're very blessed to say our Montec flies really close to our mechanicals, or our Striker flies close, because they're all very short in the ferrule of 100 grain in steel. If you took like a Rage or somebody else's broadheads and compared it to maybe our fixed blades, you're probably going to see a difference in flight between the two, just because the length has changed and that weight ratio has changed, so your front of center is different. That's what's making your impact more different than necessarily having blades out there.
Okay, that makes sense.
Makes sense, and it goes back to practice.
Yeah, practice, shoot them all. Like I said, if they have a practice point, shoot them all and see that they make sure. Like I said, it's front of center has been a big talk, and I'm not going to get into that, but I mean, all that stuff does make a difference on how your arrow flies, how your arrow flexes out of the bow. So when you change something small, it can compound, as you go. 20 yards may not be that bad, but 40 or 50 may be off further. So just keep an eye on that stuff.
Absolutely, and that's a great tip. And you know what, we've been talking about all these broadheads and everything. Where can people go to find and take a look at these?
So most dealers, most all of our dealers. So if you're, most towns, things like that have a lot of local broadheads, local archery shops. But you can also go to Bass Pros, Cabela's, any of that kind of stuff. Even Michigan, we're a Michigan company. Meyer has our Montec on the shelf. They also carry the dead meat. Some Walmarts, things like that. So there is a lot of opportunities. Go onto our dealer locator and just kind of type in, your area. There should find some dealers around you that have some product on the shelves.
Yep, I can't say it enough. Support your local dealers. That's where we need to be going, is our local shops. And
we're blessed in Michigan. We're blessed in the Great Lakes to have such awesome shops everywhere. There's a lot of them, and there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. great dealers, great company, great local company here in Michigan to deal with. And we've been dealing with you for, gosh, it seems like years.
Don't say it because we're getting old.
I know, right?
Before the beard even. So.
Well, you start watching our kids all grow up, and you kind of push the age factor.
Well,
to it.
actually,
But
I'll step back a little bit. When I first started shooting archery and I had my bow tuned, he was the guy that tuned my bow for me out in Goodrich. You remember that?
Yeah. I tell people, and then, people ask me, they're like, well, how long have you been in? I'm like, I've been in the outdoor industry since I was 12. And they're like, that can't be a thing. I started between 8th and 9th grade, and I was at Brown's for 10 years.
Right?
there you go.
That was a long time. I want to say 2000.
Tuning everybody's bows. I still get the phone calls from a lot of those guys. You still do it? I'm like, they still do great work up there. And that was it. I grew up in it. My dad was a shooter for PSE. That's why I was able to see you guys even more as we got older. And Jim, before he passed, spent a lot of time over there. It's a big community. You see it in those shops, and then that's part of. You may not spend a lot of money at some of those shops. You just hang out, and there's a lot of guys that spend a ton of money in those shops. But it's kind of some of the hearts of the community.
There's been a lot of coffee and a lot of conversation in those shops.
Yeah.
I do. I think it was 2006 or 7 when I met you out there at Brown's. I mean, it's been a few days.
Yeah, no, I was thinking. Setting up your boy when he was young. So.
Yep.
It's just been part of who I am, and I still do it for a lot of my buddies. It's something you can do with your friends. It's something you can get together. Go to the shop, get your stuff, and go shoot and spend that time together. So
and you brought up Jim, and it's going to be a year here, and so
a year today, wasn't it?
I think so.
I think Jim passed.
It was close. I didn't know it was today.
I think it was today.
27th. It might be.
Today's 28th.
Today's
27th. Yeah.
And that leads us. I'm going to go right into our next segment about safety, and we're dads here, and we've got kids to come home to and everything, and safety is the number one issue. And you had an incident that happened last year that basically, I don't know if you were seeing the light, but you were knocking on the door or something.
Opened our eyes.
I've always been pretty safe, but I've always kind of been a clumsy guy. It's always been me. I'm not the most athletic figure out there, and I had a pretty close one last year. I was hunting in Kansas, and had some pretty good bucks out in the field. And you guys are gonna laugh because when people hear Brian was stalking a deer, they just gonna laugh at that anyways. But actually had a pretty good opportunity. Had some really good deer. I snuck to an edge of a field. Had a really good buck out there. I looked down to the field a couple hundred yards, and it was one of those bucks you do anything to do to try to get an arrow into. So I was working down the field edge, had arrow in the bow the whole time, and working the edge. Still had the buck out to the right. I don't know why it didn't run off. It was wide open, but it had a little spot in the field where I could get around the edge of it, and I was going to try to get an arrow in this deer. And my buddy pulled up to pick me up, and and I was just about to get full draw on the deer when I come around the corner. And my buddy yelled, "Don't shoot, it's the wrong deer." And I'm like, and I looked up, and he was right. I was just so concentrated on seeing bodies and working it. It was getting to that point where, it was right at that time, and, at the end of the night. And it was probably a buck that I could have shot, but I didn't go to Kansas to kill a small buck, and the big one was just inside the woods in front of it. And obviously him yelling blew everything out, which is good because I could have killed the wrong deer anyways. And don't take me as a big buck killer because that's not it. I just had a better opportunity at that one because I'm from Michigan like everyone else. So, so it was kind of hectic and just kind of getting, and at that particular point, I grabbed my arrow off my bow and I put it in my quiver. You think everything's good, hunky-dory, and he walked up and he was like, "Man, was that awesome or what?" We're talking about the 3 different bucks in the field. And I had a great night. It was my very first sit in Kansas. If you guys ever hunt Kansas, Triple H Outfitters, I'll give them a call. They're great people. We were sitting there talking, and I said, "All right, let's get out of here." And one step. That's all it took was one step. And I felt something poke my leg, and I thought, so if for you guys that don't know, Milo's a big thing in Kansas. It's like I don't even know what to call it. It's a grain, but it looks like a corn stalk, but about half the size.
Right.
So what I thought when I took a step is it was just fresh cut Milo. I thought one of those Milo plants kind of stabbed me in the leg and just poked me. But I went to move and I could feel something was still poking me. And I don't know what clicked, but I had just stabbed myself that quick, that instantly. Still to this day don't know exactly how it happened, but quivers, man, you got to be careful which ones you use. Tight spot makes a great quiver, but at the same time, if you look, there's two sets of snappers. There's an internal and an outside one, and I use micro diameter arrows, and I must have just not either pressed it in all the way, or I don't know, maybe it's just quickness and me being there. There's a lot of good quivers out there, so. But it fell out of my quiver, and I don't know how. And actually, that M3 that we were talking about earlier, this particular M3 is the one that I stabbed myself with.
That's actually the one right there.
That's the particular one. I've been keeping it around the garage because I don't know if it's bad luck or good luck. So, but it fell out of the quiver and either knock-ended into the mud or somehow magically fell where one little corn stalk landed on it. And I took one step, and it was 2 to 2.5 inches inside my calf, in between my shin and in the back of my calf.
Okay, we're going to put pictures up. Before we go any further, I'm going to put pictures up. But
okay.
But everybody, if you
it's gruesome, guys. It really is. It was.
If you're squeamish, look away.
Yeah, look away. It can get you. But yeah, 2 inches into my calf. I mean, it was a brand new broadhead. I mean, it definitely shows it's the sharpest Montec ever. I'll take that crap while I can get it. But I'm thankful my buddy was with me when it happened because I didn't know it was that severe at the time. I thought something had poked. We flipped the light on. We seen it hanging out of my pant leg, and I pulled it out stupidly. I should have never done it, and as soon as I pulled it out, I didn't realize it was that deep. It felt like somebody pouring hot coffee in my boot, and this was up by my knee. And instantaneous. And I told Donovan, I said, we got to go now. I had about 300 yards to the truck. We made it to the truck, and Donovan's like, drop your bibs. I'm like, I at this point, I'm already losing it. I'm already loopy. And I'm like, I don't think we can. And he's like, it can't be that bad. And we took down the bibs, and I don't know if the pictures are up right now.
Yep, yeah.
Showing you. It was pouring out of my leg. It was I don't know how long it took us. All I know is I looked over the Speedo and I told him, don't kill us, but get me to the hospital. I called the hospital on the phone. I was trying to Google. I was in and out of consciousness. I lost 2.5 quarts of blood. They said I could have died. And if my friend wasn't with me there, we were miles from anywhere in the middle of Kansas. So I strongly recommend take an extra step on what you do. Watch your broadheads. Use your sharp. Anytime you can use a broadhead wrench. Make sure you have service. Make sure people know where you're hunting. I could have been still laying in that field. But thank God I had I was with some buddies out there and they were able to help me, and it definitely changed your idea of what you should be prepared for. I just got back from Idaho, and there's a tourniquet in my truck or my backpack. Like, I don't know if I'll ever have to use it, but it's just something that I want there now. So,
absolutely, that's a great tip to have. A tourniquet is not that big of an item and not heavy.
It's very small, and we basically made a fake tourniquet out of a sweatshirt and a belt when he drove me to the hospital just to kind of stop it. So, it was 4 or 5 hours in the hospital that night, first day of a hunt. Kind of ruined my hunt. 2 or 3 days I didn't even go out. Some days and then after that I really didn't climb in a tree stand, for the rest of the week. I was able to go out with some buddies, and some buddies killed some great deer, but it that fast it can happen. And like we said, we all have kids, and we all have, some of us have grandkids we want to come home to, and it's all about just taking that extra step and being careful.
Well, there's a guy I used to work with. We talked a lot about first aid kits, and especially with the area here that we live in, around the big town, there's a lot of shootings and things like that. And we always talk about Israeli bandage in your kit, some clots in your kit, and really those things aren't bad to have in your field kit for archery or for rifle hunting, whatever. You never know when you're going to need something like that. You're absolutely right.
And like, I'm the broadhead guy. I'm the guy that's not supposed to do that, and it happened to me. So I mean, I've heard the stories of, gutting a deer and stabbing, getting one of your arteries in your hand and your wrist.
Like you said. You cut your finger with a broadhead. Yeah, I've cut my finger. It could be simple as cutting your finger with, I can tighten it and this and that. But again, going back to that, whether it be in your case, your leg, your fingers, you cut something, and if you're, like you said in your instance, you're out in Kansas, and if you're out in the middle of nowhere in the UP, it's like, okay, now what do you do?
Right. Well, and another thing that I just remembered, my dad shot a buck one year and went to field dress it, and there was a piece of an arrow with a broadhead still in that deer from the season before, from somebody else.
All the time. All the time. You talk to local processors, they constantly, did you take your broadhead out? Yep. All right, well, sure, going to be careful because there could be one in there. I mean, it happens all the time. You reach in there and you get something like that. It's crazy. I've heard tree steps breaking on ladders. I've heard, like we are, I'm in the industry. We've had guys, I was talking to, I think it was, who was telling me this? But one of the guys I'm not going to name the old broadhead company, but it was one of the old two-blade ones. On a live video, he somehow slipped and stabbed it like into his leg, and actually had to put his finger inside the hole to close the artery off until they got him to the hospital. I would have died. I would have no idea what, stick your finger in there, close an artery. It's just those little things, just little slips here and there, and
right.
Like I said, I mean, the biggest thing is, if you're out there, make sure people know you're out, who and somewhat knows where you're at, and taking an extra step. I always had a first aid kit in my pack for out west, but, there's a couple new items in there for sure.
Absolutely. And and then you had to come home and face your wife.
Yeah, I think the worst was that I called her from the hospital, like casual, like, hey, I'm here, and I sent my dad the pictures. So, like, my dad thought I was dying. My wife thought I had a little nick. And then nobody in camp had any other clue besides Donovan, the owner of that kind of outfitting service. So, like, everybody was in between of, he's just had a little issue to, oh, my God, he's dying, So, yeah, I had to come home and explain this to my wife. And it was kind of a joke, but kind of a little serious. We were packing an elk out in Idaho last week, and I had meat on my back. And the guy that was kind of leading us off the mountain kind of got stuck in the swamp. And I'm like, all right, well, this isn't going to work. Everybody hang back. I'm going to try to cut a trail here and see if I can get us closer to instead of being through the swamp. And I slipped to my crotch, one leg in, my other leg went behind my back, knee in, and face down in the mud with 80 pounds of elk meat on my back. And my wife basically found out the next day. She's like, you're going to stop going on these trips if you keep trying to kill yourself. I'm
wow.
Like, it's little things like that. I mean, I just threw my pack off. My buddy came behind me, grabbed my shoulders, pulled me out of the mud. But, it's things like that. I mean, if you were out there by yourself, there's a lot of DIY guys that hunt by themselves and things like that. It's just taking that extra little step, I mean, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen to me. So if you guys want to know about bad situations in hunting, just find me on Instagram or Facebook, and I'll tell you all about it. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it was really eye-opening, and it definitely made me, think why I do it and what I do it. I mean, I'm always with my friends and family, so that's one thing I'm really blessed with is being able to do that with those people. So if something does happen, I'm usually in pretty good hands.
Absolutely. And my brother carries a bandana in his backpack, and the simplest form of bandana can work in many ways too. So
he uses a tourniquet and stick.
Absolutely. So, it's just one of those things that we wanted to stress. We know here in Michigan, October 1st, with the safety coming up, people are going to be climbing up and down tree stands or platforms or anything. Or in this case, you were just walking. So,
just walking. Yep.
Safety, folks. Let's all get home to our loved ones and get on a good hunt and then come home, right?
Absolutely.
That's what we're doing. I'm putting food on the family table and telling stories, and let's make sure those keep happening.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that story with us. I know it looks a little gruesome, but if it helps somebody, it's worth it,
Yeah, and in the long run, it's been able to help, Like, it was kind of funny. We went to ATA, you guys were there, but I pretty much walked around like a '90s hip hop artist, because everybody wanted to see the hole in my leg, So,
Right.
but I mean, it's just laughs now. But at the time, it was
Serious.
much more serious after than it was during. Like, I didn't think I was in that bad a situation until I kind of slowed myself down and thought, dude, 2.5 quarts of blood's a lot,
That's
Absolutely.
right. That's exactly right.
You're only
So,
giving so much.
You know,
Yeah, you don't make it fast as you can lose it. So
Right.
Exactly. You know what? And after a story like that, I think we need to lighten it up.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Let's take our last break. We come back. We'll go through what is your favorite part of the show.
Well, it's not just mine, from what I understand.
All right. We're gonna step outside. We'll take a quick break. And we'll be right back after this.
All right, everybody. Last segment of the show here. If you got any questions for Brian, you're right, Mark Coleman. You're lucky to be with us, Brian. We serve a big God.
I appreciate that, guys. I really do.
Absolutely. Yep, safety first, absolutely. So the last segment of the show, we definitely get to have fun. Yeah, not fun. It's just nice and relaxing. See,
Good.
I'm already getting the don't forget the questions. See, told you.
All right. Here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Last segment of the show. What we've always referred to as Danny's favorite part of the show.
I don't know how it became my part of the
don't
show,
know.
but I'll take it.
We didn't tell Brian what we're going to do here, but basically we asked you a couple fun questions and just catch you right off, what you're thinking right that second. So
So the first question is, you're traveling out to Kansas, or you're driving out to your favorite hunting spot, coming up whenever you're going this week, and you're driving around and you're listening to something on the radio. What are you listening to? Podcast, rock and roll, country? What are you listening to?
A lot of Cody Jinks right now. A lot of new soulful country. A lot of that just kind of puts me in a happy spot. And a little bit of podcasts. It's that time of year you're thinking about new tactics and things like that. So a lot of whitetail stuff. And either something kind of really peaceful, a little rock and roll-ish, and or some information. So
Cody Jinks. There you go.
Cody Jinks, man.
I like it.
So you're gonna go. Well, either you're traveling in your truck or you're out on stand. You gotta have a favorite snack. What would your favorite snack be?
Oh, I'm a Swedish fish guy. That is a tree stand snack for me. So,
So
Seems like I remember this from ATA. Didn't we talk about this?
I think
we might have.
he probably had them.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, it's a possibility. So those are usually in the pack. Yeah, so something. This body is made on sweets, so it's, I'm a Midwest tree stand guy,
So I gotta ask you, you're out in Kansas or you're in Michigan. It's really cold. Those Swedish fish get a little hot.
They do.
So do you put them in the pocket to warm them up?
Yeah, you got put them close to the skin, get them a little warm, a little soft, And sometimes you just go a little, just pop one in when it's hard, get a little longer life out of it.
there you go. That's good stuff. Oh man.
So okay. So those are the two great questions. Mike and I are coming over for dinner. What are you gonna make us meal-wise? Your best recipe, go-to recipe that you're gonna wow us.
Ooh. Bourbon glazed backstraps.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, we made them out in Idaho out of elk tenderloins. But any good whiskey, a little bit of butter, and sear them hard. And they come out of the oven, slice them real thin, medium rare. That's my go-to for sure.
That's the first time I've heard that with whiskey.
Yeah. Sear them real hard, a little bit of butter, a little bit of whiskey. Just let it glaze, and then put them in the oven for 5-10 minutes, and let them finish. Oh, they're the way to go. Everybody that gets backstrap sliced from the processor, tell them to do chunks and do them that way, and then you slice it after you cook it.
Okay.
You won't go back.
There you go.
Jeez, oh Pete.
You won't go back.
Alan Mayer says Sour Patch Kids are his go-to thing.
Sour Patch
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Make you pucker up.
All right.
I mean,
So
the nice thing is I do have kids now, so I can just steal handfuls of Halloween candy before I go.
I do it all the
So,
time.
yeah, exactly. so we've had this great meal. We're gonna sit around the campfire, and you're gonna tell us a story that comes to mind. Your favorite story, whether you're young, old, whatever it is. What story are you gonna tell Mike and Dan?
Oh, probably my first turkey story ever. It's like I said, when I said earlier, I mean, family and friends is why I hunt and how I do it. And my dad never turkey hunted. We got a piece of property a really good buddy of ours owns over in the Yale area, which is awesome because that's right where the shop is now. And I had no idea when I was doing turkey hunting. I knew all these cool new calls and decoys. I was your typical first turkey hunter that had the vest and way too much stuff, you know? And I'm trying to do calls, and my dad's just sitting back going, this 15-year-old kid looks like an idiot, you know? But we were having fun, and he didn't care. But we were hunting hard all day. We got a couple little gobbles in the morning, and just really didn't know what we were doing. And so I had heard some gobbles on the other side of the farm. So I'm like, all right, Dad, come on, let's go over there. I know Rob's got a blind that's up. We'll just sneak into the blind and see if we can get the birds to come. And so we did for a little bit. My dad, typical, he's like getting tired. Oh, my back hurts. So he is out of the blind, feet inside the blind, sleeping against a tree. And all of a sudden I get a gobble. Oh my God, this might actually happen, you know? And all of a sudden I see it, and it's coming in full strut, and it's on a rope. And I'm like, oh my God, I actually did it. All this stuff is working, you know? And Dad is still sound asleep, and his feet are next to me, the blind's tight, and I'm trying to move around, and you know, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm trying to get the shotgun out the window, you know, like, you know, everybody told me, don't move, you got to be really slow with turkeys, you know, all that stuff. Since then, I've learned a lot more about turkeys. But, and I'm getting the shot up, I'm getting the barrel on them, and I do turkey hunt with shotguns, even though I'm an archery guy most of the time. But I kicked my dad accidentally, and my dad springs up, and he's like, what are you doing? And all of a sudden, the turkey's head just pops up at like 8 yards, like, I don't know what to do. Shoot this bird, and my dad is freaking out. He thinks I've actually shot the gun. He thinks I'm just screwing around in the blind. Flip the blind up over on top of him, running out there. This bird's flopping around. I'm trying to get it. My dad has no idea still what's going on. And the whole time, we just both cracked up laughing because, he was sleeping. I didn't know what the hell we were doing. I knocked him over. We almost threw the hunt by waking up, you know. It was always like that one thing in my mind when I hunt. He's my go-to phone call. So it's that one story I always like to bring up. And it was just a funny turkey hunt. So
man, that's when you need a camera. You need a camera on that.
I'm not the guy to film my own stuff, but if somebody put a camera on my shoulder, you could have tons of hilarious footage. So not a lot of killing, but a lot of funny hunting stories. So.
You gotta have fun while hunting. Just wouldn't be without it.
That is awesome. That is good stuff, man, right there.
So that's our questions that we got for you. But there is one added question, is from Mark Coleman. It says, Brian, have you ever dressed up as Santa for the kids?
Oh, God. You know what's funny about this? Like, it was mentioned a couple years ago, and then we're in Idaho, and the guys are like, man, the beard's getting a little gray. You know, you're a little on the round side. What do you think about doing Santa? Well, I started looking into these guys make a ton of money. So the question is if I have it, then will this beard get white enough to do it? So,
you could be the young Santa Claus.
I was thinking more, we'll keep it more PG, but I was thinking more like office parties, you know, than the hall Santa or the mall Santa.
That could be dangerous, man. I know you. That could be dangerous. Oh, that's good stuff, man. That is funny. Oh my. I got a question I wanted to ask you. I mean, you've been around hunting, you know, different places. It's something I've always wanted to do. You get out, somebody in your group takes a deer or an elk or whatever, mule deer. Have you ever had fresh back straps right over an open fire?
Oh yeah. So
that's got to be the best.
Yeah, anything, a stick and a piece of meat over a fresh piece of burnt wood is. I think you can't beat that ever. You know. So I've been able to do it out west with some elk. Been able to do a whitetail. You know, just kind of cutting a piece off right then and there. I don't think there's a better meal out there, a more satisfying meal when you're tired and you put the time in, or you helped your buddy get it off the mountain or out of the tree, you know, out of the woods, and there's nothing more special or delicious than that one bite.
I think that's something I'm gonna try to do this year at some point, whether it's here in Michigan or down in Indiana. It's just, to me, there's something primal about it. I mean, especially when you get back to, if
if you can get a fire going and, you know, just want to get that relaxed, that wind down time anyways, you know, just a little salt if you have it, you don't even need it really, and just that smoke and that heat, you know, a little bit too rare that we should eat it, but, you know, who cares? So
Right.
You wouldn't care.
That's all good
Brian, Brian needs to have a GoPro on him at all times when he's out in the field.
Who's saying that?
I'll think about it, guys.
And my brother calls you now Chris Kringle.
All right.
So there you go.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're bumping up on it here on the end of the show. I'm going to wrap up the podcast portion, and we'll continue with the live stream for just a minute. But for those of you on the podcast, make sure you get over to G5's webpage and check out what they've got over there. Get to your local pro shop. Support your local pro shops. Also, check us out over on our social media sites, and Danny will be posting this.
This show will go on
Wednesday.
YouTube. Typically, it'll be there by Wednesday.
All right. And also, if you listen on iTunes, make sure you go over, give us a review over there. That helps us out as well. That'll do it for us this week, folks, on the podcast. Y'all take care, and we'll see you again next week. For those of you on the live stream, we'll entertain a few questions if you got them. And
Mark Coleman says, caveman style, delicious.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
yeah, there's something primal about it. I mean, hunting's primal anyway, so why not take it all the way? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like I'm not a sheep hunter. One, because I can't afford it.
Right.
But two, just I've never done it. I put in for a couple of spots, but like one thing a lot of people don't eat is ribs. You know, even whitetail ribs or anything like that.
Right.
That's the one thing the sheep hunters do. It's like just as much as getting the sheep off the mountain or killing a sheep is eating the ribs on the open fire. So like if you ever notice, a lot of the Western guys do that with the sheep ribs. They say it's terrible, but it's part of the tradition.
There you go.
But they're doing it anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I'm guessing sheep ribs probably don't sound that great, especially an old bull. So,
Hey,
old
well,
ram.
you got to stick with tradition.
Yep.
You got anything else coming in there?
Nope, all set.
All right. I tell you what, Brian, hang on with us here after the live stream. We'll chat for just a second, but we're going to go ahead and wrap up tonight. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Absolutely.
And-
Appreciate it, guys. It was a pleasure.
Not a problem, And as we said for the people on the podcast, those of you who are on the live stream, go over, support the people who support us. Get over to G5's website, check it out. Go to your local pro shops. Make sure you're spending your dollars there. It helps out the local economy, and those guys, they need some business, especially right now with this COVID stuff going on.
Hey, absolutely. There's a lot of good ones out there.
Absolutely.
All appreciate it. So.
Amen to that. So that will do it for us this week. We're going to wrap things up, but get over, give us a like, give us a follow, give us a share. Do the same thing for G5, and spread the show if you could for us. Share it, share the links and all that, and that'll help us out. Y'all take care, and we'll be back again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.